Welcome to the Disruptor Podcast, where we analyze and discuss investing in technology that's changing the world as we know it. I have my co-host with me, Robert Smooth, and today we're going to talk about should you be investing and why you might need to be investing. So, hey, Robert, let's start from the top. Okay, I'm a high school student. I just graduated high school. I'm trying to figure out the world out there. So, take me from the top. What advice would you give me on investing?
Wow. Wow. You said something, I believe, the very first video we did. What was it? You said the best time to invest was
20
20
years
years.
ago. Yep.
How does it go? How does that go?
So the best time to invest is 20 years ago.
Yeah,
The second best time to invest is right now.
there it is. Yeah. As a high school student, you need to hear that. That's really important because you have something that people would love to get back, and that's time.
True.
You can either use that time to your benefit or you can use it against you, meaning, stay up 3 o'clock in the morning, watching Netflix, wasting time, not really focusing on goals that you set for yourself, right? But as an 18-year-old, just out of high school, obviously, college should be on your mind. And if it's not college, you got to have some sort of path to go down. And the question was, should you invest? Short answer, yes. Long answer is yes, you should invest.
Yes or yes.
Yes. And the reason why is because what you want to do is speak with your elders, because I personally feel like your elders are time machines. You want to know how you're going to behave in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You look at the people who raised you, you look at the people your elders who are around you, and you'll see that, hey, this is what I've done up until this point in my life, and this is what I have to show for. And so I would encourage you to take a second, call up one of your elders, in the 40, 50, maybe even the 30s and up, and say, hey, how's your 401k? Or what's your retirement plan looking like? And then they'll go and say, I got this set up, I have that set up. Some will say, I don't even know what that is. And the question that you ask is, what could you have done at 18 that would have benefited you more today? And 101 or 110% of the times they'll say, I should have invested when I was 18. And as they're saying that, random people walking down the street will hear it and say, yeah, same here, I should have invested. And so that's where you get that 110%. So it's important to start investing today. And I guess it'll kind of segue to the next question on why do we invest. But what was your question?
No, I totally agree with you.
Same one?
Yeah, I agree with you. I like how your greatest asset when it comes to investing is time. It's not money, okay? You don't really need that much money to get started, but you need time. It's crazy how much, like you said in I believe 2 videos ago, we tend to underestimate what we could do in 10 years, but we overestimate what we could do in one day. Okay. So time is the greatest luxury you can ever have. So I'm thinking back to myself, right? If I could go back to when I was 18, I know there's so many things that I'm going to do different. Like I was asked this question the other day. What would you do? Would you rather have $1 million right now? Or would you rather go back to when you were 18? Okay. But with all the knowledge you have right now.
Right.
Okay. And to be honest, again, it depends on what age you are, but I think I'll probably decide to go back to my teenage years with all the knowledge I have right now. So I think that'll set me up for success better than having $1 million right now. What do you think about that?
Well, what are you now? 26, 27?
27, yeah.
27?
Yeah. So that's like 10 years back.
10 years.
Yeah.
Man, if you have the knowledge that you have, 10 years that's deadly. Yeah, you can do a lot in those 10 years.
I agree.
So yeah, I would take that time machine, go back to 18. Now you will miss out on experiences that make you who you are today. So it's kind of tough. It's like, do you really keep that knowledge or do you even go down different paths? But yeah, if you can go back into time, that you would always come out more beneficial than you are today, given, nothing really happens, unforeseen circumstances, right? You may have been lucky to make it to 2028 right now.
So
But
true.
but but unfortunately, we don't have a time machine, right?
Yeah.
So our time machine is friends and family, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now you've got your 18-year-old cousin, your 13-year-old cousin.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling them, hey, I've been through it. I understand what it takes to become successful for yourself. And the steps that you're taking today won't necessarily help you in the future. And the reason why I know this is because I've taken those same steps. And by you intervening, it's similar to you traveling back into time, but instead of you traveling, you're kind of living vicariously through the 18-year-old, the 13-year-old, and you're helping them achieve their goals so
True.
that they
True.
don't repeat the same steps you did.
True. I really like that. You want in life, you want to leave. So I heard this phrase, you need to leave things better than you found them.
Oh yeah.
So that way, by educating the younger guys on, hey, these were the mistakes I made. This is what I should have done.
Right.
You're technically creating a better generation. And if we keep doing that, this planet is gonna be a lot more better than it was when we were here.
Yeah.
But yeah, but going forward into you kind of led to this a little bit. So why do we invest? Why do people invest?
Yeah. So investing, there's a common misconception that investing is just putting money into the stock market, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to make up a definition for investing. You got your pen and paper?
Yeah, I'm gonna write
So,
right now.
yeah, there you go. So investing is basically taking your time and resources,
Mm-hmm.
you're putting it into something with the expectation that you have more in the future. And that's all investing is. So you can invest your cash in stocks, right? You can invest in real estate. You can invest in yourself, working out, learning a skill. You can invest in others, teaching, right? All of that, you put your time and resources with the hopes that whatever you put in, you'll get more out of it when you come to take it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what investing is, really. So it's not just the stock market. But since this video can't go on for 3 or 4 hours, we're going to mainly focus on the stock market. We may touch real estate or whatever you want to get into, but I want to keep it focused for the viewers' attention's sake.
Yeah, I really like that. I like how you mentioned different types of investing, but what stood out mostly to me was when you said investing in yourself. I think it was a quote by Warren Buffett. Your greatest investment in life is always going to be yourself, because guess what? They can tax the stock market, they can tax real estate, but they can never tax what's up here.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's why.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Trust me, Biden's gonna figure out how to do that. but yeah. But it's just empowering. Knowledge is power, especially in today's world. Knowledge is always power. You want to invest in yourself, get that education, like you said. Again, not necessarily going to school is a good start, but that's not the end. They call your graduation day commencement for a reason. So that just means you're exiting one stage of life, but you're commencing the next stage of life. So your education doesn't stop there, even though your schooling might stop. So you have to constantly keep educating yourself, keep learning, just to keep growing in life. So I really like that. But what I've noticed is a lot of people, and myself included in some situations, we're kind of scared to invest. We're kind of scared to take that first leap of faith. Why do you think this is? Why do you think we have this experience and this fear of investing?
I feel like it's mostly the fear of the unknown.
Mm.
And when you go through any kind of change, you always fear that, regardless of what it is. But one thing that you need to keep in mind is after you've spoken to your elders and they tell you, hey, I wish I would have invested earlier, or I wish I would have invested this amount of time. I wish I would have done this or that. If you have a fear of not investing, you run into an issue of missing out on knowledge. So you have the choice of investing or not investing. If you do nothing, there's going to be a lot of forces that act against you to prevent you from achieving whatever goal you have over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So one thing you need to ask yourself is, all right, where am I today? And where would I like to be by the time I'm 30, by the time I'm 40 or 50?
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee that unless it's couch surfing, you're you're going to have to find a way to gain that knowledge to put you in a better position. And so it's a race against, you're racing against time. And if you don't move forward with gaining knowledge, if you don't move forward with trying to grow, you're missing out on so many things, and you're putting yourself in a terrible situation for the future. So, and that's something that you have to get over, the fear of investing. And that's what we're here for, right? We're here to help kind of alleviate that fear and say it's okay. And also stop watching the news.
Oh, yeah.
One thing you really need to just turn it off. It doesn't help you. The only purpose for me, that's what I've noticed, is to get people riled up, get people in fear, and get people thinking the short term. You'll never see any news article or anything that talks about 5 years, right? A 5-year trajectory, 10-year trajectory. It's always what's happening today, what's happening tomorrow, what's happening next month. Stop it. Just stop doing that. There are better sources online than watching the news for your information.
Completely agree. Yep. Yeah. It's crazy how scary the news can be. Like, you wake up in the morning, 9 a.m. news. Oh my God, the economy is falling. Oh my God, the sky is falling. But guess what? Guess what? We've what I like to tell myself is, hey, 2 things can possibly happen. The first one is the world ends. And trust me, if the world is gonna end, you don't need your money anyways. So your money in the stock market is the least of your troubles if the world is ending.
Burn that to stay warm.
Exactly, right. But history has taught us, like, guess what? The world is gonna keep going on. Okay, as long as it's gonna keep going on, we are gonna keep growing as humans, as a society. The economy is gonna keep growing. So no matter what the news is saying, hey, the sky is falling, ask yourself those 2 questions. Is the world going to end? If the answer is yes, you don't need the money anyways. If the answer is no, then like so I think it was one of the Avenger movies where Nick Fury, the head of the Shield, the Avenger, he says, until there's such a time where the world stops spinning, we're going to continue to act as though it intends to keep on spinning. Right? Go. I really like that quote. Those
are powerful words right there.
They're very powerful words. Yeah. So like, I really like the point you made about not listening to the news. And it's these days where everything is just clickbaity. Everyone's trying to get a click. Everyone's trying to get views. Everyone's trying to get likes. It's so easy to be to be short-term focused, to be focused on the near, here and now. But the people who seem to make it and invest in are those people who can take themselves out of what's going on now and project a few years in the future, 5 years, 10 years. What is the world going to look like? And then make your bets or your investment based on that educated guess, or, well, I guess guess is not a good word, but based on that educated calculation you've made on what the world's going to look like.
Well, yeah, no, you're on point there. It is a guess, right? And I don't want people to think that, oh, it's absolute. No, it's still a guess. You don't know what could happen.
True.
Tragedies happen. However, it's, what is it? Luck. How does it go where it's like luck? Let me see if I can think of it. It's better to be lucky than to be prepared and unlucky. Or how's it?
Something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll throw this one out. Practice and preparation prevents poor performance.
I like that.
No matter what happens, as long as you're moving forward, you're striving, things are going to come. You're going to get hit. You're going to have losses. But as long as you're moving forward, your trajectory will always be in that forward direction, right? You look at the path of success. There was a nice thumbnail where it was a guy going down a trail, but like every time he would go off to the right, failure. Okay, well, that's not it. So we'll go over to the left, failure. But if you kind of zoom out, you would see that path to success is being carved out. And all you have to do is just stay on the go, and eventually you'll get to success. So there's going to be failures along the way. my friend, he would be quick to tell me that I messed up a lot of his stuff growing up. Just I would come over his house and just tear up everything, take everything apart. And he would say, yeah, I hate it when you would come over and do stuff like that. And you would just leave it a mess. And I would say, look, I'm sorry. But if anything breaks or if anything happens, I'm the first person he calls. And it's not because I've failed trying to, mess around with all that stuff. It's because he's seen that I've been successful at certain things. And he understands that, hey, if something's going on, Robert may have the answer. Or I don't, but either way, I'm going to push towards some sort of answer, and that's important. As long as you look at the big picture of things and you're moving towards your goal, it's almost difficult to not be successful. But
true.
How do you feel about that?
I like that one too. So it's this kind of reminds me of a quote. I'm not sure if it's by Warren Buffett or Peter Lynch, but someone was like, "Your greatest mistakes in the stock market in investing are usually not things you do, but things you don't do." Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That sounds like Peter Lynch.
Yeah, exactly. So when you do your research, you're sure about this company, they've been growing revenues, they've been growing earnings, they've been growing income, but you don't make the move to buy their stock. Right. Okay. Those are actually the ones you regret, not the shitty companies that you do your research, you think is a good company and you do buy them. I mean, yeah, it's possible, like you say, it's possible to fail. It's possible for those companies to go down to zero and you lose your money, but those will not be your biggest mistakes. Your biggest mistakes are those that you're completely sure about, but you just don't pull the trigger because you're scared of investing. So it's always best to start. Once you start, you're going to figure the rest out. So yeah, so speaking about greats like Peter Lynch and Warren Buffett, do you kind of, so how should we invest? Do you kind of have principles that guide you, or do you kind of have like rules that you follow when you invest to become a better investor?
Yeah, so let's kind of narrow this down. It's safe to say that we're discussing the stock market, right? On how to invest.
Correct. Stock market investing. Yep.
So and again, I want to do one more thing to get over that fear portion is a lot of people say, well, what do I invest in, or how do I invest? How do I get started? Well, before you get started, you need to know what the stock market is, right? And you help me out on this one, but from what I've gathered, the stock market is an auction center, right? Where companies will release portions of their stake into the stock market, and people buy and sell portions of that company. And if a group of people decide that it's worth this much, that's how much the stock is, right? And they have all their methods of determining how much stocks are worth. But one of the biggest things that they use to determine how much the stock is worth is the revenue that the company is bringing in and the profits that they are making. If a company is not able to make profits, obviously there's a good chance that they're going to go out of business, and the stocks that you have will be worth nothing because the company doesn't exist, right? So that's technically what a stock market is. It's a voting system, so to speak, or an auction. It's like, hey, I'm selling these amount of shares. Who wants to buy it? And then people will say, I'll buy for this much. And if there's an agreement, that's what the price of the share would be. Is that correct? Am I explaining that right?
Yeah, that's actually a really good explanation of what the stock market is. How I see it, like I feel like the stock market is the greatest invention when it comes to a capitalist society. What do I mean by that? So it's the concept where you can decentralize risk. Okay, a guy or a girl comes up, has this brilliant idea, decides they want to work on it. So guess what? They sell ownership of the company to different people, right? Saying, hey, let us decouple risk. Let's decentralize risk. So this is risky. This probably has never been done before. However, if this succeeds, the reward is going to be worth the risk. Okay. Then people buy into that idea. People who like the idea go ahead and say, yeah, I'll take this. I'll take this for, I think it's worth whatever I think I'm willing to pay for it. So they pay for it. And like you said, right, it's kind of an auction where people exchange back and forth based on future projections of the company. So what do I mean by that? I might be willing to pay $1 today for something that I think is going to be worth $5 10 years from now, right?
I like
that. That's a good trade-off, right? Yeah, pretty much what that's 20 cents on the dollar, right? Because you're patient enough to wait 10 years from now. So you're paying 20 cents on the dollar because it's going to be $5 5 or 10 years from now. So I think it's one of the greatest creations we've ever seen. And it's crazy that a lot of people still don't understand what the stock market is and how it works and how you could make, I don't want to say make money because I don't want to sell the dream that, hey, you can become the next Warren Buffett. I mean, it is possible, right? But it's but
You're up here. I need you down here.
True.
Let's be realistic.
True. But at least you can guarantee yourself a much better retirement. You can guarantee yourself the safety of knowing, hey, I have this money to the side. Okay. Regardless of what happens, I'll be good. You know, I've put this money in, I've bet on the American system, not necessarily a specific company. You can, like the S&P 500 is a good one. You can bet on a basket of companies saying, hey, I see where this country is going. I'm betting on these top 500 companies that they are going to keep pushing the world forward. So that way, once you have that money put to the side that is growing at what, 10% yearly, it puts you in a situation where you can afford to take risks of your own and you can afford to do things you've always wanted to do because you know your nest egg is safe somewhere.
Yes, you have a safety net. Absolutely.
Exactly. So I really love the concept of investing on the stock market. I think it's one of the greatest creations ever. What do you think about that?
No, it's you explained it perfectly. Yeah, that's beautiful. One of the best creations in the history of the world is to have the stock market available because it, for people who know, it puts them in a position to do what they want to do to live the best life they possibly can. And that's fantastic. I love that idea. But you mentioned the S&P 500. Do you know about the annual growth rate over the last like 20, 30 years? For the S&P 500?
Yeah, I think it's about 7%, right? 7%. But recently it's been 10. So I think over the last 10 years it's been like 10%. Yeah, over the last 10. Yeah.
Like 7 to 12%.
Yeah, correct. Exactly.
So for people who are just starting out investing, they're like, okay, what is this S&P 500? And I like to use, well, I play basketball. We've played before. Yeah. So you understand basketball. So I like to use that analogy, right? So think of the S&P 500 as, well, it is the top 500 companies in the United States, right? The S&P 500 chooses the companies that they feel are the best in the United States for growth or stability or whatever the company has going on. They like that platform. Say, okay, we're going to allow you to be inside of the S&P 500. Now, compare that to the NBA. The NBA has about 450 players, right?
Yep. As
the players in the NBA gets better, the NBA as a whole gets better, meaning you have better shooters, better defenders, and that has more of a value, right? Compared to what it was yesterday.
Correct.
With the S&P 500, as the companies in the United States have more revenue, more profits, the S&P 500 will grow in value, right? Well, notice that the S&P 500 is growing between 6 and 12% every year. That is fantastic. If that's something where you want to park your money, and you know that's pretty much the safest thing you can do for investors. So if you want to be safe, you go into the S&P 500 and you hold your cash there, and over time you will grow. Now, same with the NBA. If you like the NBA and you like where the NBA is going, you watch the NBA, you pay for commercials, you pay for merchandise, you contribute to the value. Now, I'm sure you can name the top 10 players in the NBA like that, right?
Yep.
I'm sure you can name the top 10 companies in the S&P 500. It would be safe to say that the top 10 players in the NBA are significantly better than the other 90% of the players in the NBA. And you can say that for the same companies in the S&P 500. So now this is where I'm going to leave you to do your own research here. But there are ETFs, which is basically a collection of companies, right? Help me explain what the ETF is. ETF is a collection of companies And they represent those companies and the value of those companies, right?
Correct. Yep.
So it's like when you buy one share of S&P 500, you buy a portion of all 500 companies in the United States.
That is correct.
Well, there also exists different ETFs per segment. So there's an ETF which would hold the top 10 companies in the United States, right? So that would be similar to getting the top 10 NBA players, right? And so as those top 10 players get better, the ETF or the NBA, the All-Star game will get better, so to speak.
Correct.
And so the good thing about ETFs is if you've got a guy who gets injured, he gets removed from the All-Star game and he gets replaced with another player. With the ETF that focus on certain sectors, as those companies fall off and they're no longer profitable, they're not bringing out revenue that you expect, they get removed and replaced with another company. That is basically the growth that represents the growth of companies as a whole, the best companies. So you're never stuck with a poorly performing company. And same with the All-Star game, you're never stuck with a poorly performing player. And so why are we talking about this? Well, if you were to buy one share of, say, for example, what is it, VOO? Is that a good?
Yep, VOO, that's the S&P 500 ETF, correct.
And they focus on technology companies, right?
Yep. Actually, well, yeah, you can say that. So QQQ is the NASDAQ, S&P 500 is VOO. So yeah, you can say VOO. Technology companies here. That's correct.
Yeah. And you can buy a single share of VOO, and that will just focus on like your Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon. Those are the largest companies in the world, or in the United States at least. And their trajectory is likely to move forward, not backwards.
Correct.
Right? And so if you want to get a safe pick, your ETF funds in specific sectors are going to be your safest pick with the safest growth. And that way it'll kind of make it easier on you when it comes time to make a decision on what stocks to purchase. Whereas, you say, oh, should I buy Apple? Should I buy Microsoft? Instead of doing that, pick a fund that holds all of those companies in one. Yeah. Did you want to add any additional information on that, on choosing stocks or anything?
But that was actually perfect. I like the comparison you drew between the NBA and the S&P 500. I think that was a perfect way to analyze it. If you look at the NBA, for NBA fans out there, the average salary of the NBA has kept going up over the past 10 years, right? The more
that's good.
Yeah. Exactly, right? Because it's becoming more of a global sport. Every year it gets global, it gets bigger. They're signing more TV deals and stuff. Same thing with the S&P 500. Okay, the top guys, their revenues keep growing. Why? The world is becoming more globalized thanks to the internet. We are more connected than we were. So guess what? Now that Apple is making sales in almost every country you can think of, guess what's going to happen to the revenue, right? North. Keeps going up. So yeah, so that's a perfect analogy. But to end this section, what would you say? Since again, like I said, I like the example of the NBA. So top two players in the NBA right now, Steph Curry and LeBron James. You agree with that?
I mean, hold on. You can't forget Durant.
Man, okay, true. Okay, I'll three top three players in the NBA. KD, LeBron James, KD, Steph Curry. Again, the order doesn't matter, but that is actually my order. So what would you say? Who is the LeBron James, KD, and Steph Curry of the S&P 500 right now?
Well, here's another thing that I want, before we even answer that question. Think about this. In 2005, or was it 2003, when LeBron was drafted, one of those years?
2003.
Everyone knew LeBron was going to be great, right?
Yep.
So if you were to say, all right, I'm going to bet, or I'm going to buy LeBron's rookie card in 2003, and then 20 years later, I'm going to sell his rookie card. Right? Now I walk up to LeBron, 18-year-old LeBron, take his picture, have him sign it so it's authenticated. 20 years later,
oh yeah,
that rookie card is going to be nice.
It's going to be nice.
And
So,
so,
that's a gold mine.
this is what I'm
Like,
getting at.
uh-huh.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
I was gonna say that's a gold mine, or more
That's the
like a
goal.
more like a Bitcoin mine.
Right. So now think of what company today that's young and based on their fundamentals is going to grow exponentially over the next 20 years. If you think about that, I'll leave that to you or the viewer. That's your homework. What company do you think is going to be significantly larger yesterday or tomorrow than it is today? And so I'll kind of leave that gem there. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. We're not going to mention it. We're not going to mention it. And so I feel like the top two companies in the S&P 500 is Apple and Amazon. Why do I say that? Well, it's simple. You can just look at their market cap. Apple's worth 2 point something trillion.
Yep.
Amazon's worth 1.8 trillion,
1.6, 1.8, yeah, around there.
And then you can't forget about Microsoft.
Oh yeah, you can't forget.
5 trillion now?
Something like that. Yeah.
And here's the kicker. Look at those stocks or look at those companies and tell me what their market cap was in 2016. I'm sure none of them was over $1 trillion.
That is true.
Am I right?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, you guys can look, figure it out, and just see how those companies are growing over a 4-year period. Now, I'm not saying 4 years from now, they're going to double or triple. But what I'm saying is look at the companies that has grown significantly over the past 4 years and think about what companies are poised to make that same growth. And think about what they focus on, what products they sell, right? What services they offer, and how does the future benefit those products and services. We're always going to have cell phones. We're always going to have the nicest cell phone. We're always going to have an attachment to technology and data, right? So you just think about what's going to happen over the next few years. Now, this isn't easy. It's not something where you can just sit back and say, oh, I think it's going to be this, I think it's going to be that, and it's a clear path. You have to do your research. But if you are fearful of picking those individual companies, perfectly fine. I understand. What you want to do is choose the ETF that has the best of the best companies. And as a company drops out, remember, it can just replace it with the upcoming company.
So true. So true. Hey, Robert, I think this was a really perfect episode. We're gonna go ahead and end it here. But okay. I'm sure this was very educative for our viewers, and I'm sure we left them with a whole bunch of homework that they need to go get done. So yeah, so this is perfect, and I'll see you in the next one.
All right, sounds good.
All right, man. Thank you.